Hello guys, in this video we are going to talk about complex numbers. And what are complex numbers? Complex numbers involve with an I, which represents imaginary number. And what does the imaginary number represent? So if you could take out your calculator or Chromebook, use Graphing Desmos calculator online. So if you could type square root of -4 and hit enter, or square root of -100 and hit enter. So if your calculator give you an error or an answer that you did not expect, and that is right because the calculator cannot solve any radical number that has a negative number. So what we need to do is to solve the radicals. However, we are going to be using some type of a formula, and that formula is the I square, which would be equal to -1, or simplifying that, we are going to have I, which is equal to -1. So this is like a formula that we are going to be using. So as we continue, we will be talking about complex numbers and its standard form. And standard form of complex number is A plus BI. So I'm going to show you more about this as we get there. So for now, we are going to focus our attention on these two information. These are important information and they are going to help us as we try and answer the following examples. But first, let's focus our attention to the steps that's on the right hand side. So the first step is to take out the I first. That would mean, say for example, if I have -9, -9, so I am going to take out the I first, which means I will separate these two into -1 times 9. Why am I doing this? Because my goal is to take out the I first. So I'm going to separate -1 times square root of 9. And as I do that, remember, if we go back here, square root of -1, which is this, is equal to I. So instead of writing square root of -1, I am going to write an I instead of -1 because square root of -1 is equal to I. Now, I am going to drop square root of 9. However, the square root of 9 is a perfect square, so I will just write 3, but instead my answer is going to be 3I. So, to simplify. Now, the next step that we are going to do is number 2, or simplify each radical. We're going to simplify each radical. And then number 3 is to multiply the outside numbers. We're talking about the whole numbers, if there are any. So let's use these steps as we try and solve these examples right on the left hand side. So square root of 12. So first we're gonna take out the I, and so we split -1 times 12 and then a square root symbol. So you might be asking why we put a -1 and not just a square root of a negative. That's not possible. There should be a number in that radical. So now we can split, or you can just write negative square root of 1 times 12, and square root of -1 is equal to I, and then we split 12, and 12 can be split into 4 times 3. So we use 4 times 3 for a reason. Remember, we need to split it wherein one of the number is a perfect square, and 4 is a perfect square. So therefore, that would be I times square root of 4 is 2, and then 3 is not a perfect square, so it stays inside the radical. So our final answer is going to be 2I So the coefficient comes first before the variable, and then square root of 3. All right, let's try this again. Let's try number 3. So this time, we have a number on the outside of the radical, and that is a 3. So we're gonna drop 3, and then you may take out the negative right away by just writing an I outside. That's like a shortcut. If you kind of understand why, you may use it this way, or you can split them and show the what I showed earlier, which is square root of negative 1 times square root of 32, and then after this is what gonna be what I have right now. So it's like a shortcut. So do you have to show this part? No, you do not, but it's up to you. But if it makes sense, then go ahead, do it. Okay, so let's continue. So 32, we're gonna split 32. 32 can be split into 16 times 2, and 16 is a perfect square. So therefore we can write 3i squared of 16 times 2. And then we split the radicand, 16, square root of 16 times square root of 2. And square root of 16 is equal to 4, separating that with a period to represent multiplication. So we drop 3i, and we'll drop square root of 2. So the 3 and the 4 can be multiplied, and that is equal to 12 with the I, and then we'll drop square root of 2. And we have our answer. All right, let us try and answer this problem right here. Number 3, we have square root of negative 32. We just solved this problem. So we could just take out the I and then split 32 into 16 times 2. And then the 8, we take out the I, and then we have 4 times 2, because 4 times 2 is 8. Now, you may split these two numbers inside the radical symbol. It's up to you. Do you have to split them? No, you do not. But if you understand that splitting them and makes more sense and it gives you a better idea what happened, then go ahead, do it. So I'm showing it to you right now. So square root of 4 times square root of 2. Okay, so we drop I, and square root of 16 is equal to 4. And we drop square root of 2. And we square root of 2 is not a perfect square, so we drop it down. Drop square root of I. Square root of 4 is 2. And square root of 2 is not a perfect square, so we drop square root of 2 as well. So we have times square root of 2. Now, we have 4i times square root of 2, and then we have 2i, and then we drop square root of 2. So as we continue, if you notice, we have here a number which is 4i and 2i. We can multiply these two together. So that would be 8i squared. This 2 gets multiplied. So like, remember, if we multiply x times x, that gives us x squared. Let's say y times y, that gives us y squared. We add exponents. Okay, so remember there is an invisible 1 in any variable. So we add those exponents just like the I squared. So it has an exponent invisible of 1. So we're going to drop the square root of 2. However, we can also multiply because they're exactly the same. So that would be 4. And this will be equal to 8i, and I squared is equal to negative 1. And where did I get this? Remember our notes up here, I squared is equal to negative 1. Okay, they're equal to each other, and so I can write -1 instead of I squared, and square root of 4 is 2, and so therefore the final answer is -16. Okay, let's try this one more time in the example for number 4. So we have -50. We'll take out the I first. So we'll have an I on the outside, and square root of 50 can be split into 25 times 2. And then times. We have I, and 116 can be split into 4 times 29. So 4 times 29 is 116. And we can't split 29 evenly. So there you go. And let's simplify. So we have I times, this will be a 5, square root of 25. We drop square root of 2. And then we drop I. And this will give us times 2. Square root of 4 is 2. And then we are going to drop square root of 29 because 29 is not on the list. Remember, we've got 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, the perfect squares, 49. So that number is not on the list. So we drop a square root of 29. Now let's simplify further. We have 5i square root of 2 times 2i square root of 29. Now we can multiply 5i times 2i. So multiplying this 2 would be 10i squared times square root of 58. So 2 times 29 is 58. And so 10 times I squared is, remember, equal to -1. So that would be -10. So which makes -10 square root of 58. Because we can't simplify 58 any further. So there's our final answer. All right. I hope you find value in this video. If you do, please hit subscribe, and thank you. If you have any question, drop it in the comment section. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.